Hi, this is Eric Jarvis, and I'm going to give my first impressions of the Rubric creator that Google's rolling out within Google Classroom. Now, lots of us, myself included, have used add-ons to give more specific feedback than Google Classroom's typical 0 to 100 points or just one point score per assignment. Mr. Cafferty's feedback, template Tab Plus, etc. I've used all of those, but it's nice to see that they're rolling something out that's integrated, and it's very easy to use. I'm not an expert in it, but let's take a quick look. So when you're adding an assignment or when you're editing an assignment, you can add a rubric to it now. You'll see that this is now here on the right, and I'm just going to click Add Rubric. You can, once you create them, you can reuse them, as you can see here. So the rubric can be used in multiple different assignments. You can make one of the SBAC rubric and use it every time you do a practice test on that, or do some of the scoring for those. You can import it create it in Google Sheets and import it. I have not seen the instructions of the format they want for that, but I'll keep looking. So I'm going to create a rubric just to show you how to get started. So you start with criteria. You can have as many, I'm not sure exactly how many criteria, but you can add multiple criterion that's available. I'm going to start out with claim, evidence, reasoning, and I added closer. That's one. This is for a social studies assignment. I've given these specific directions of what I want, and then you can add a description for it. And just going to copy that here. Each response claim. Okay. And then you can figure out how many points. Now, I'm doing this as a social studies assignment point-based score sheet. You could simply use a 1 through 4 rubric if you'd like. But for each set of points, you give a description. And so for the top, I'm going to call that outstanding. Now, if I can simply say this was outstanding, it'll automatically give them 50 points. And so as you can see, here's a description that they will see, I'll see as well. Now, to add the other point levels, I simply click the plus sign, and I keep on moving with that. So for this, we'll say 40, and I'll say if it's good, worth 40. And I have a description for that one as well. And I just keep on going through, and I personally added 4 different levels. And I'm clicking the plus. If I wanted to put one in between here, I could. So I'll 0, and my last one is just redo. Put in the description. Now I'm not restricted to these specific points. So I could give 42 points if I wanted, or if it was close to outstanding, like 48 points or something like that. Now I'm going to add another criterion. And I just keep going with my criterion. For points, I wanted to add up to 100 because it'll say the points I gain on the rubric, but then that 0 to 100 is still defaulting to 0 to 100. And then so I just... to keep it simple for the kids, I'm going to make my score sheets, and I usually do that. I usually make them add up to 100, and easy to figure out the percent. So I'm just going to keep going with this, and I have my next criteria, which is completeness. And I have my description. And then this is going to be worth less points, and then my level title would be outstanding. And I think you're starting to get the picture here. And then I just keep on going with that, adding them each time I go. And when I complete my rubric, it'll appear on the assignment sheet for the students to see, and they can click on that, and then they see the rubric and how many points each section is worth. And as I grade something, so let me go ahead and grade something here. Let's check out Andrew Jarvis, see what he did. So when I grade it, I can go ahead and click this and open it. And by the way, I did this with Kami, so I was able to push out a. That's a whole nother video tutorial. So I can grade this. It looks like he didn't do a very good job on this, but so I click down here. You might have noticed here we have this separation of grades and comments, and if you're not already adding to your comment bank, so you don't have to retype the same comment over and over and over again, I encourage you to use that. I even put links here. I know I'm bird walking a little bit. If they didn't use dialogue correctly, I have an instruction sheet on how to do it, and I have a link to it that I can push into their assignment. But you want to click this scoring sheet, and instead of just typing in, one score, I can say completeness. I could say, it was, because he's my own son, I'll say fair. Treat him well. And I can close that up again. So I could see they got 15. As you can see, if you're using a 4-point rubric, be really simple just to go through and see how did each student do on this, and like scrolling through your students to see how they did on the rubric, and they'd all appear here. So claim, evidence, reasoning. Instead of typing in a score, I can say I don't see any, so I can just say redo here. And accuracy, I'll say it's poor. Okay, so you get, and then it tabulated the total out of 100. So that's why I've made mine out of 100. And if you're doing a 4-point rubric, obviously you could have edited that, or you can change the total point value by clicking on the settings here. But by making my rubric add up to 100, I think it's easier for the kids to understand, and then I don't have to do any changes. So there it is. That's what they see. And then as I go through, I can go through each of the students and score them using this. Pretty cool. This is an assignment they haven't done yet. So as I go through, I can see not only what score they got in their final score, but in which categories they got it. So that's the rubric maker. It looks promising to me. So check it out when you get it, or if you haven't already gotten it.